What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Soul, and I'm here with a new video with my good friend Phoenix. And we're going to be doing a reaction of King Recon's reaction to our theory video. Go ahead and say what's up, bro. How you feeling about this? Us doing a reaction to King Recon's reaction of our theory video.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Hope y'all feeling good. Hope y'all feeling great. Ready for another banger video. And this one, I'm really excited for, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's really nice to see that how I'll say open-minded the community is starting to get. Like it's mind-blowing. It feels very surreal, especially like while we're still a smaller channel, and due to like the past let's due to the past, like our community has been over the past decade, it hasn't really been popping like that. So like now that we have a bit of, attention, we can do theories and discussions that can go around, and I'm really excited for real. um so I'm just ready to get into this reaction because it's something that we made too, and I take pride in it. I'm not even a prideful person, but I take pride in that.
I agree with you, bro, because I know how you are, and I know you're not a prideful person. What this is, we're just really excited at the fact that we've gotten a chance to have someone look at our, theory video and our work and be thoroughly pleased by it. So I know what it is, bruh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead hop in to this reaction, and we'll go ahead and have a little discussion as well of as we're watching it. But we're just gonna let the video play out, and yeah, we'll just pick it apart and try to have these discussions about his reaction and basically his discussion, actually. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about King Recon's discussion of our theory video. And if we're able to give you guys any more insight to how we feel on these topics, we would love to do that. So hopefully you guys have some popcorn by you, have whatever you need, because this is going to be another fun video. So let's go ahead and dive on in.
Bye bye. Yo, great video, man. Great collaboration. A few thoughts. First thing I want to talk about is the U-Haul question in the middle of the video. Let me see if I can go back to the U-Haul moment. Absolutely loved it. What great theory. And there's so many things going into my in my brain right now that's spinning. I find it to be fascinating. I think this is the Uryu part, or I found it. If you would have asked me before this video, I probably would have said it's just the events of the past. I think after watching this video, I want to say that was Yuha himself that was there. And what's making me lean in that direction is that if we're looking at it as you're discussing here through the lens of the obvious Christian undertones that are throughout the course of the Thousand Year Blood War, everything came from something and must all return back to that thing in the future. And obviously, like you said, like the two of you discussed in regards to the idea of souls and everything having a soul within the Bleach universe, I honestly do believe that maybe not consciously, but Yuha was there in that moment, in the creation of the Bleach universe. That pieces of his Reishi, what would become Yuha, were there, which I find to be really interesting. Because that adds a completely different layer to Yuha wanting the almighty ability in my eyes, as well as the existence of the Quincy's themselves. The idea of the Quincy's and the Soul Reapers and the Hollows with that in mind, all stemming from this one thing, this one moment when all of this was created. Because it most certainly does feel like the Soul King obviously created them so they could all live together in balance and in harmony, with still the animal kingdom-esque way of one is a natural weakness, or is weak to another, right? Like Quincy's to Hollows, for example. And so there is that part of the chain. Well, some are stronger in other situations, and others are, you know, they thrive more in others. But I think Haschwald, Uryu, and Yuhan, excuse me, in particular, this is really fascinating stuff that you presented here, specifically in regards to the Almighty, the antithesis, and the balance. Because it makes you wonder why such things were etched, if they were etched into the soul. My brain is going crazy right now. Yuha, at the very beginning of the universe, then having a moment where Perninda takes him back to the beginning of the creation of that is so incredibly interesting to me. Because Yuha as a character fascinates me on the idea of wanting to see everything yet could not see anything. The idea of a character that for so many years was this individual who would eventually come to take the throne once again, being taken down by the very thing that he created, is obviously very is a major element of this entire arc. But now as you bring in the Uryu element into it, and his downfall is obviously at the behest of things that he created, literally, right? And Uryu and Ichigo now, especially now that you're talking about the Ashwaulan.
All right, so hearing King Recon's his thoughts on our reaction for the Yuha scene actually made me jump with joy, because a lot of times you could say like, oh, let us know in the comments what you think about something, like in the middle of the video, and then like they forget because, you know, there's another half of the video. But I was just thinking that, you know, hopefully he does let me know, and seeing that he does talk about it at his discussion part, I freaking love that. So I'm just hecka psyched about that. But to continue onto what he was talking about, I actually commented on his video, and when he was talking about how he doesn't necessarily think Yuha was there physically, but the reishi that would become Yuha eventually was there, I thought that was really deep. It's, in a way, I thought of it in the moment. I was like, well, what if Yuha, he was similar, and like, what if Yuha was a part of Adonais, as like maybe like being the Almighty, as, you know, just like sitting in the primordial world. Like, I know it sounds a little crazy, but like, I feel like Yuha has the Almighty passively. We saw that with Ichibei after he sealed it away, right? We saw that Yuha still has the ability to see into the future, because when they were fighting, Yuha said, oh wow, I didn't know I could see this much with my eyes closed. And then the Almighty activated. So he has the ability of the Almighty passively, right? So like, I find that crazy. So like, is Yuha in some way the Almighty kind of like incarnate in like a human body? You know what I mean? Like, similar to how, you know, similar to how, I guess, Jesus is God, but at the same time, a totally different person, but also one with God. Like I feel like it's similar to like that sort of you know, situation, because we know that the Thousand Year Blood War has a lot of like Christian undertones. But yeah, I thought about that and I thought that might be interesting. So, what did you think about this part of his discussion, bro?
See, me personally, I was ecstatic, brother. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this part made me so happy, and it filled me with such energy because I wasn't the only one that thought that. Like when we were first coming up with this theory, and then you mentioned this section, I was like, look, it would be nice if, that was the left hand that was, showing the events of the past to Yuha. But then I was like, nah, what if it was actually Yuha back then? And that would just put an extra layer to it, and seeing how you get to see visually Yuha's life basically gets submerged by what is the cycle of life and a new universe and the creation of a new, new realm. It was always so, you know, fascinating to me. It like extremely whimsical. Like it just drove me insane. Like when I got to finally see that scene, and then you mentioned it. Um, and then to see that King Recon's he took it a step further, and I'm like, okay, what if it's not, the U-Haul that we already, see and know? Because there is already a version of that already exists in that verse. We already know well, we know him and love him well. Old man Zangetsu. He's, you know, another variant of Yuha. And that's another reason why I can also, you know, I can appreciate the theory of, Yuha being a piece of Adonais himself. That's why I had the whole concept of, what the different irises meant, and, the will and power and all of that. Like he's the power, he has it passively, as you said. Like it just all lines up very well. And I extremely appreciated that part, like you said, him adding that in there because most people forget about it or gloss over it. It's really exciting to see someone have a like mind, or at least entertain a a line of thought. So yeah, that was what I thought.
Yeah, man, because I feel like with our reaction, I know a lot of people could just shut it down, and I've seen some comments saying that this is a dumb reaction. I mean, a dumb reaction. I've seen some people say this is a dumb theory, and the thing is that I mean, a theory is something that you believe that could be true, not necessarily like it's like completely true. It's like, yo, what if this is what Kubo is getting at? Like I don't know. I feel like people they don't know how to open their mind and look at the narrative and look at what Kubo has already done inside of this arc. And they just don't know how to think for themselves, and it's really sad. So
Yeah, and I definitely gotta agree on that because it's always funny how I said this before and I'll say it again. Kubo has a very funny way of writing. Like he'll he'll write so that when you make your speculation, sometimes you could be wrong, but when you're right, you're not always 100% right. There's always a special stipulation to it, or a unique circumstance that makes this, possible or plausible. There are certain conditions to it. Like prime example, Rukia and how her Zanpakuto works with ice. Like i- for the longest time, we're just thinking, oh, it's very similar to Toshiro. It just emits ice. But no, it's actually different. So that's what I appreciate about Kubo's style, and that's what allows our theories that might seem far-fetched at first to be given evidence and, have real merit to it, and an enjoyable discussion.
No, that's facts. That's heck of facts because a lot of people did look at her, her Zanpakuto as like, oh, it's just like Toshiro's but different, or like prettier. It's like no, they're completely different. But okay, nice. Let's go ahead and continue on to the next portion.
Being taken down by the very thing that he created is obviously very uh, is a major element of this entire arc. But now that you bring the Uryu element into it, and his downfall is obviously at the behest of things that he created, literally, right? And Uryu and Ichigo now, especially now that you're talking about the Ashwaulen, it makes me think that the bow and arrow is actually not something that belonged to anyone, but what it could represent is Uryu's bow and arrow from the current time, right? Like a future, a potential possibility from the future that was created thanks to Juha's own actions. Similar to how the Ashwaulen created the Ichigo that would then be the one to take him out, and also created the Aizen technically of that would lead towards the demise and within the end of the series as well. So when you have those three, when you have Ichigo, Aizen, and Uryu, which were all either impacted in Aizen's case from just mere fascination and knowing what could be done with really taking his plans into his plans really going into fruition after the Ashwaulen and being fascinated by the idea of the hollow and surpassing the barriers of the limitations that we thought were possible, and then most certainly they thought were possible. Ichigo, Aizen, and Uryu, all in that moment. Though Yuha, of course, could not foresee that. Because once again, he can see everything but cannot see anything. That then led to his demise. A demise that he more than likely welcomed, right? Leading back to the amazing conversation at the end of the Blade chapter 684. But that is extremely interesting. I love this video. I love this video because it's not only is it an idea that I've never thought of, it's an idea that sort of puts a bow on why Ichigo and Uryu felt like the two individuals that needed to be at the central core of all of this, especially in this arc, but throughout the course of the entire series, in multiple different ways. Focusing them at the beginning of the Urankar saga. Well, obviously, the core five, core six technically, are all main characters in their own areas. But Ichigo and Uryu have just been so prevalent throughout the course of the entire story that you really opened my eyes to the potential thematic possibilities and also just really cool lore implications that could be cooked here in core 4. Because I've never thought about the Mimihagi thing, and I always wonder what that symbol was in that episode. But that actually makes a lot of sense. But going back to, once again, to the Ashwaulen moment, I honestly do believe that rather than it being a bow and arrow that signifies a battle or an individual at that point in time, or a passing of the torch per se, I really think it's just a future that was created there, showcased through visual imagery. Especially if Kubo's involved in this, we know how much he loves his visual imagery.
All right, so what do you think about that discussion and that section that King Recon talked about?
Man, all right, really quickly, before I jump into that discussion, there was one thing that I wanted to get back to from the first part that it really intrigued me. So I really wanted to talk about it. It was when he mentioned how the Quincy's, or why there is a system where the Quincy's have anything engraved on their souls, or why is there, engravement in the first place on one's soul. I wanted to I guess, give a rationalization for that. Um, the what I came up with was Quincy's have their letters, their shrifts, basically in the similar vein to how Soul Reapers have Zanpakuto. And it may not be an inner world the same way that Soul Reapers have their Zanpakuto inner realms, because naturally they're Quincy, so it would be different, but there is still a parallel to it. And in this verse, in the world of Bleach, you have what is an emittance of what your soul projects. And because of that, that determines how powerful you are and what power even, sprouts from you in the first place. Like, for most cases, you're not going to see someone with an ability or a power that, they wouldn't really resonate with. And I could say the best example of this is, let's take from the Soul Reaper side, Soy Fawn. Soy Fawn, she is very stealth like. Her build is very assassin uh built, and it's extremely, swift and clean. Meanwhile, that's her style, but her personality is very explosive and bombastic like her Bankai. And it's a similar vein like that with the Striffs and some of the Quincy. And you have Baz B for a prime example. He's another one that his type is, it's hot. It's extremely, it's extremely intense. So it's just an example that I wanted to come up with for, the reasoning or rationalization as to why shrifts or why things are engraved on the soul, because it basically projects their soul's personality, their typing. And, you know, that carries on into the type of abilities that they end up having. But yeah.
Yo, that was good, bro.
um
I like that. That was really good.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. So, what did you think about the Australian section that he just talked about?
Now, as far as the Ashwelin section, I really enjoyed that he, picked apart on this as well, because with the Ashwelin section, he mentioned how there is, some type of future um interaction when it comes to there being the bow representing Uryu's bow from the future. And my interpretation of what he is saying, with what King Recon is saying, that like this bow is, I will say, not a bow of, to deal damage, to kill, like how it's usually drawn, as, the parallel was with Misaki and, the whole situation with Grand Fisher. This bow was drawn in order to protect, and that would also put an emphasis on Uryu and his shrift, the antithesis as a whole, period. That would be its true first moment blossoming, like giving us a true showcase of the rejection of everything that is Yuha and the Almighty. What his goal is, what his purpose is. Like, that is what the word antithesis means. So it would tie a nice bow around it if that was like the moment that the flower blossomed into, you know, protecting and rejecting everything that Yuha just did in that moment for him specifically, because that's what's in his soul.
For me, even when we made this theory video together, I didn't have too much to say about the Australian portion of it. That was very you driven and you heavy. And I absolutely loved just hearing your thoughts on it because, as much as you know, I had ideas about what it could mean. They weren't as deep as in they weren't as deep and intense as the Yuha scene when he was in the primordial sea. You know what I mean? So I really did resonate with the things that you said in the Auschwitz section in the theory video of ours. King Recon, he talked about how the bow that appears above Uryu isn't necessarily one of combat, right? Not like someone's like really shooting a bow and arrow, but he says something that is like kind of close to like representing that a future was created. And to briefly, go on to that, I had an idea. Remember when before Ichigo fought against Yuha in the royal palace, he had these weird visions. He had a vision of Yuha stabbing the Soul King, and then he had the vision of the Soul King, like for some reason the crystal, and then it became Ichigo. And then Ichigo was kind of like laying down, and then Yuha was looking over him, and even Ichigo was like, "Yo, what the heck was that?" In my personal opinion, I think in a way Ichigo is able to see the future. I know a lot of people won't agree with that, and some people might like it, some people might not, and that's fine. But I do believe Kubo is doing something with the future in regards to Ichigo. Now, the way I interpreted King Recon's bow scene, being that a new future was created, I thought of it like maybe Uryu was able to like intervene with the past in some way. I don't really know how that works, but I just thought that if if the Quincy and Soul Reapers have parallels, then this would be a parallel as well. The Soul King, he's able to see the future and the past, right? Yuha, he's able to see the future and the past as well. Now we know that Pernida showed Ichigo. I mean, oops. We know that Pernida showed Yuha a glimpse of what happened in the primordial sea. Now it made me wonder, is there going to be a past and future thing with the limbs of the Soul King? And I thought about Mimi Hagi and Pernida. Maybe it's similar to Royd and Lloyd. Maybe it's similar to Royd and Lloyd, where they share a similar power, but there is a difference. Maybe in this case, Pernida and Mimi Hagi are able to maybe Pernida and Mimi Hagi are able to show you things of the past, but one represents stagnation while the other represents advancement. Now, that's I know that's a big stretch. That's totally fine with me, but that was just something I thought about when we were just watching his discussion on the Australian section.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, that is a fire theory. That was really clean, bro. Honestly, it's funny how most people I don't think would have made, you know, uh that type of connection like that seamlessly with Roy Lloyd and the hands, especially with how we felt, about Yuha basically, being the power of Adonais or being a piece of Adonais himself. It makes all much more sense. Like you mentioned before, with the Christian values and the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, like that trio being a thing, and that like they would essentially they would essentially be like the Holy Spirit being able to you know guide and do certain things that the Son is not necessarily doing. It's an extension of himself. Like I really felt like that was a good add-on, to the whole theory. That was really good. Nice cuts.
Thank you, bro. And if you guys haven't, like, comment, subscribe to my channel, to Phoenix's channel, and to King Recon's. And yeah, okay, let's go ahead and continue this reaction.
Of what Yuha saw, or I'm sorry, what it was that he saw in regards to it being either a record of the past or something that he himself lived through. And I want to say that he himself lived through it, and not just Yuha. I feel like everyone in the Bleach universe lived through it, because that was the moment when everything was born. When all of them, Quincy's, Soul Reapers, Hollows, every single soul came from that moment, right? And they would later, be dispersed at different time periods. But for Yuha to be able to go back to that, to the inception of the universe, I mean, of course, that's something that I think all of us would like an opportunity to be able to see. But to have your main antagonist who can see absolutely everything at a later date, obviously, not at that moment whenever he saw it.
Hold on,
But
real
who
quick.
does have that direct
Yo,
moment
so
of that.
Yo, what's going on?
if I heard him correctly, did he say something along the lines of Yuha having to basically collect the souls that were spread across different times?
Not that I know of. Let me rewind it just a little bit for you.
Maybe I interpreted that like because the way that I interpreted that was like he is because he was obviously there since the start of the universe. Like he was, there during the primordial, realm getting split into three. But like, if what he's saying is that wasn't, the same Yuha as before, and everybody's souls, obviously have stemmed from this realm, then it's like, does that mean that the people that he knew, like, let's take the Zayadilits or what's the other one's name? But like the different Starrider that were there, they were originally people or pieces of people that were in the primordial realm.
I
And
think
like you know that he didn't just build the star, like it wasn't the Starridders at first. Like they were a different military unit, and he was collecting people throughout all of his time, basically being alive. So I'm
that's
thinking about this like in a Kingdom Hearts type way. That's like the most basic generic way I could like explain, articulate what my thought process is for that. Like the people that's on Yuha's team is essentially like pieces of people that like kind of like how wait, you watch Black Clover, right?
yes.
Okay, you caught up, right?
I haven't caught up in like in the anime.
Yeah.
The anime, I forget what the last thing was, to be honest, but I was on the manga, and I got
Okay,
to
good. So you passed the elf thing. That's the main thing that matters.
absolutely I did. Yes.
Okay, cool. So it's just like the elf thing, where the different versions of people that, look the same or look similar, that are elves, that are now humans. It's like that. That's how I'm thinking of it. The way he worded that.
Okay. Okay. I didn't think of it that way. That's
Yeah, that's why I was like, hold on, did I interpret that wrong? Or like is that the angle he's going at it? Because if that's the angle he going at it, like, bro, that's tough.
sure. Okay. Let me. I'm gonna go ahead and rewind it a little bit. Let's go ahead, continue.
Okay.
Everything was born. Um, when all of them, Quincy's, Soul Reapers, Hollows, every single soul came from that moment, right? And they would later, be dispersed at different time periods. But for Yuha to be able to go back to that, to the inception of the universe, I mean, of course, that's something that I think all of us would like an opportunity to be able to see. But to have your main antagonist who can see absolutely everything at a later date, obviously, not at that moment whenever he saw it, but who does have that direct connection to Adonais and does have that a moment of that connection, going back into biblical terms, of like the prophetic nature of the return or things that have yet to become. It's so interesting that you have a character that sort of, you know, has that desire for everything to return back to its beginning and also one day to its end. And for Yuha, similar to the Auschwallen moment for Aizen and Ichigo and Uryu, all being where their lives were forever changed. It is interesting how we don't know how things could have gone after if Perminda had never shown Yuha that. That kind of felt like just a flick moment, similar to going back into the book of Genesis, with the ye shall become gods, or ye shall become gods after attaining the fruit of knowledge. And it's like Yuha dared to bear his fang, add the fruit of knowledge that would give him an opportunity to learn about the creation of the universe, and that he was never the same ever again, and thus fell after that, right? I also find that to be very fascinating of itself, and I'm looking forward to seeing how all this stuff is explored in the fourth core, because like you said, we have had so many anime original sequences and moments with
just stopping it right there so we don't forget, but that little section that he just talked about, yeah, man, I didn't think of it the way you did in that scene, you know, but I think it has some you know, food for thought, if I'm being honest. You know, the things that Yuha saw, you know, was he actually there or was he not? You know, like, there's so much that I would love to see in Core 4 when it came to that scene. You know what? Because I don't have too much to say about that scene, because we did talk about it and you talked about it actually in that, you know, little moment of the of this section. But do you think we're gonna get a Adonias backstory in Camp Fear Your Own World in Core 4?
Oh man, I would love to get an Ananias backstory, especially because ever since they showed us the flick at the beginning of the episode, um, showing the silhouette of his mom and the umbilical cord, I was just like, and you know, all the hands with the eyes chanting his name. I was always interested in getting a flashback or backstory. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Give us like I would be happy if we got like the everything but the rain type of treatment for, you know, a Yuha flashback. Like, you know, a good 2 episode flashback, you know. I feel like that would suffice. That would give me plenty of information and context to what things were like, what he was like back then, things that were happening, especially in the realm of Quincy's two Soul Reapers, because to this day, to this day, Ichibe is a mystery that I need solved. I need answers about Ichibe.
I get that. I need answers on Ichibei, but also if we did get a everything but the rain, but for like a Yuha flashback or, you know, Adonias flashback, I would eat that up, bro. Like, with what we've already gotten, I've been blown away. Like the anime original things that Kubo has shown us in this, I've been like, yo, this is like this. Yuha's in that top one spot for me in terms of Bleach villains. I can't lie, bro. Yuha and Adonias would benefit from a everything but the rain flashback for sure. I would love to see that, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead, continue, and finish this reaction out. We're almost done with it, man. Dang.
specifically those characters, specifically with Uryu and Ichigo and Yuha, that I'm looking forward to how it is that they decide to wrap all of this up because of all these different possibilities. Really have my brain going right now. There's so much there, but I'm in awe. I'm in awe of what y'all were able to achieve here, because not only was this a great video for really enlightening a topic that I have yet to see anyone talk about, but it's also the way that it was structured leaves so much up to own personal interpretation and discussion.
That part, bro, I've been saying this for a while, but Bleach, it has so much content that is discussable that a lot of people don't notice because it flies over their heads, and I freaking hate it. Like I think people don't realize that Bleach is able to sit up there with One Piece in terms of like discussions. You know what I mean? Like there's so much, like, but people just don't talk about it, and I don't get it, bro. We need, and this is why I'm glad you and I did this theory video together, Phoenix, because we need to bring back discussions in the Bleach community and debates in the debates in the Bleach community, bro. I mean that.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, dog. It's honestly one of the things that I've been itching for years. Like, I've always, had an observant eye at things that were going on in the series, and things that he would put into the Q&As, and I would have different interpretations of what he's saying because Kubo, he has very funny ways of answering some of his questions. So, like like King Recon said, it leaves a lot of the creativity and interpretation up to you, and that's what creates more excuse me, that's what creates more of a discussion. That is something that it just fills my heart with so much joy. And I just ultimately am appreciative that he was receptive to it. He acknowledged it, and this is very much something that I've wanted to, do. And like you said, bro, who else better to do it with than you? You've been a great friend. You've been an awesome collaboration, partner. It's always a great blast having, discussions with you about Bleach, One Piece, especially too, because the like you said, the theories and the discussions and conversations that come from One Piece community is extraneous, and it's very diverse, and I have that same level of passion for Bleach too, and that's why, because it's less, I'll say, it's less out there. I want it to be more, you know I want more people to be attentive to it, because Kubo, he uses words, but when he talks, it's very like light. It's sleight of hand. So he says what he means, but he means it, he means it in a very multicolored way. And that's what captures, the essence of Bleach. And I'm glad that our video was also able to capture that essence as well. Um, so yeah, I'm I'm happy, bro. I'm like, super ecstatic for this.
I couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it any better myself, bro. Let's go ahead and continue, man. Dang, I'm proud of us. Good job, bro.
Yes, sir.
Like, this is something I would genuinely like to have a conversation with others. It is that interesting of a topic. But I think one thing is for sure, and that is that Uryu and Ichigo, and the more that we focus on the Soul King's connection to Ichigo throughout the course of this arc, we also have to then put focus on the connection with both Yuha and the Soul King, on both Ichigo and Uryu. So the more focus that we saw on that on Ichigo in Core 1 with Yuha and Core 2 with the Soul King, and then Core 3 with both, the same thing could be said obviously for Uryu, which I'm so glad that you highlighted upon that as well within the video. And now when it gets to Core 4 and we see the true connection between Adonais, Yuha, Ichigo, and Uryu, it is going to lead to that ending being viewed from a different lens. And I already think it's a phenomenal ending. Not the ending itself. Y'all know how much I love that ending. I'm talking about those final like 4 to 5 chapters of that battle, where you get to see so many of the core central ideas of the series come into fruition there. And I think it would be so cool of the anime to not only have that final volume be filled with thematic brilliance, but also tie up loose ends from a lore standpoint as well, especially before we get into Hell Arc content, which is going to be necessary, because I always think back to the Hell Arc, starting off with that specific chapter about, Aizen and Yuha being the ones that held things in balance, and once they were removed from that equation, then these things were able to start taking place. Once Aizen in particular disappeared, holding the realms together, sort of serving as like pseudo Soul King within that final, the beginning of the Hell Arc. All of that stuff is so interesting to me, and that the Aizen's connection to this whole Soul King bit, of course, him daring once again to bare his fangs at the Soul King, calling it that thing. It's like Bleach has multiple different characters that their major flaw, their demise, was of their own doing. And I think it would be so cool for us to then circle back here within this final core and have that moment with Aizen, where his own demise led to his biggest success as well, right? Because obviously it was Ichigo the one that took him down, but because he stayed true to it, and obviously he has the final conversation in the series on courage, and he knows that better than anyone, about not only his own journey as a character, having the courage to be able to do certain things, but also the courage of his enemies. And I think it would be... I'm looking forward to seeing how that's explored through the lens of what you're talking about here. With the Aizen stuff, with the Yuha stuff, with the Soul King stuff, with the Adonai stuff, with the Ichigo and Uryu stuff, and how all of that comes to fruition in a finale that is undoubtedly going to... I mean, we know from the manga that it touches upon a lot of these things. But now with all these new additions in the anime, I truly wonder how it's going to play out. And then there's the idea of the Quincy's. The idea of the Soul Reapers coming in and taking this place from what originally belonged to the Quincy's. The two of them having that generational dispute. Seemingly endless dispute. And for one on both sides, and Ichigo on one side, and an Uryu on the other, to be the ones that finally put an end to the endless cycle that's prevalent in so many pieces of media, especially in the Japanese side of things, about putting an end to the cycle. For these two to be at the very center of that, then both of them would need to be connected to the Soul King and Yuha in multiple different ways. And I think what you're presenting here is exactly that. Where by the time we finish Core 4, by the time we finish the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War and the anime version of this, we're going to have a complete understanding of what that connection is with Uryu, Adonai, and Yuha, and Ichigo, Adonai, and Yuha, and then of course their connection to each other. So I love this idea you've presented. I love the conversation that both of you had. And it's an eye-opening video in regards to what they could potentially be doing with the anime version of this arc as we head into Core 4. And I just thought it was an excellent theory.
That is so huge to me, bro. Like, when he said that, I really felt like we did it. We accomplished exactly what we wanted to create. He talked about the Soul Reapers and Quincy thing, how in a way the Soul Reapers just kind of like took things away from the Quincy and made it to where now it's a Soul Reaper world instead of a Quincy world. I think that's facts, because the royal family on what they did that even started this. Oh, sorry. That even started this whole thing, and it's crazy because like even Adonias, he did that same thing, where he didn't really make a place for the Quincy to exist. It's like in a way like the primordial sea, or at least the first world, that was all like that was definitely a world for Quincy in a positive way. And it's not like it was you might feel different about it, but it's not like it wasn't a Soul Reaper world, you know what I mean? But they just wanted to make it into what they think it should be. And they didn't even think about the Quincy, and neither did Adonias. So like I just find it so interesting. Like if Core 4 really did give us a adaptation and like a Adonias flashback with Yuha and like the whole Soul Reaper Quincy thing, bro, I think that would probably be my favorite flashback in the entire series of Bleach, hands down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I was listening to everything, dog, just shaking my head like, man, he's hitting both you and King Recon, just hitting every nail on the head. I'm just like hitting every note that I wanted to address already. Like it's the wavelength that we're on is all of one like mind. I'm genuinely like, oh man, I'm so appreciative that I have, like you call my boy King Rico, Bleach scholars. I'm glad I have a couple of us, putting our heads together to make this video happen. It's definitely it's always fun. It's always fun when I get to have, these conversations and these angles of perspective from the series, because there are a lot of characters that share, similar fates, like he was saying before. Um, they're being their own demise, essentially. We've seen that be the case on both, the quote unquote good guys and bad guy side, with the whole Komomora and Tosin thing, both of them. It's always it's always, full circle. And that's one thing I've noticed about the Bleach verse, after the triplet technique. It's always a cycle of some sort, with these characters. And that's what I kind of like to speculate the way that I do. It's oh man, this is amazing. Like I almost have no words. I'm gonna feel like a broken record repeating myself, because like
And the video I made with Raven, Crank, right? The not so black and white of the Soul Society. I feel like when you look at Bleach as a whole, it gives you so much, and there's so much to talk about. So I mean, I've already told you, that's gonna be a series of videos. So I am coming out with another one. Just stay tuned for that. But Bleach, it has so much, man. And I just absolutely loved King Recon's discussion of our theory, and just everything he said, because it just really cemented like you and I made the right decision on making this theory together, bro. So let's go ahead, finish this up, and then yeah, end it from there.
Exciting stuff, honestly. both from a lore standpoint and a thematic standpoint. So, Core 4, man, I know we've all been looking forward to it just because of the really cool moments that are going to be in there. But specifically those last few episodes and potential Hell Arc implications. God, how awesome would that be to have a cliffhanger like that, right? But even before we get into that, seeing how they wrap all this up and answer all those questions within the anime version of this is going to be extremely interesting. Because one of my favorite parts about the Thousand Year Blood War, the manga version, is that was Kubo's Thousand Year Blood War as he created it in that part of his life, and that he could not have replicated that arc ever again in another part of his life. What we're seeing here is sort of his Evangelion to the Evangelion rebuild, where it's his opportunity to be able to make an arc that obviously meant a lot to him again, but 10 years later. It's not going to be the same arc, though a lot of the core is going to be there. But this is the Kubo of now and what his answer is to the Thousand Year Blood War content now.
I absolutely love that he said that, because I do wholeheartedly agree. The Kubo of then that first made this Thousand Year Blood War is different from the Kubo of now that's making the Thousand Year Blood War again, and it's gonna have some differences for sure. But I just love that he said that. I felt like that was really really well thought out.
Absolutely, I agree.
And so I wonder what must have happened on his journey from the original ending of the arc until now for there to be so much emphasis on this Uryu and Ichigo plotline. It was obviously there within the original manga, but it really does feel like his own journey from that point is going to be at the central core of this final season, and is going to tie together everything that we're talking about here today. But I can tell you what, this video just got me so excited for the character conclusion, the anime character conclusion of all of these characters, of Yuha, Nice, Ichigo, Aizen, Aizen from what I'm talking about here, and Uryu, because they all have a connection to each other, and I'm excited. I'm excited. So I thank you once again. I thank both of you for taking the time to be able to record that really, really great video. And I hope that Bleach fans around the world get an opportunity to also watch that theory before heading into Core 4. Because whether it's something that you agree with or not, it is very good. It's great food for thought, and also opens up the possibilities of what could happen and what could be touched upon in this final season, and all the new anime original content that could be added to further explore elements like these. And if we ever do continue the Hell arc, then it would, all the stuff we're talking about here could be taken to an even greater extent within there, because then you would have an opportunity to be able to talk about things from the other side, right? Because right now, what we've explored within the Bleach universe is everything that's above here, right? So we're exploring all of this and where life leads to on the very toppest of the pinnacle, going back to the beginning of everything, and also the end of everything, right? Because where everything comes from in what we're talking about in that Yuha Adonai section, that's where everything comes from, but that's also where everything returns to eventually, right? In this, it goes all ratio individuals going to either Soul Society and or Hell. And I think having an opportunity to explore that other side, especially with what we saw within that first chapter with Unohana, with Ukitake, with Yamamoto, and the kind of things that we can see now after we've gone through an entire series exploring one side of things, it would be so interesting, especially after that Helliverse movie, which I already thought presented really cool ideas in and of itself. But to have an entire arc with the Kubology pen on it to explore all these things that we're discussing here, but from another lens, would just be super, super fun. So I'm hoping it returns, because I love Bleach, obviously, and but more than my love for Bleach, especially in recent years, I'm so fascinated with his mind. I think he has a really great mind. A mind for exploring stuff that genuinely interests me, while also having the really cool action and battle sequences that always get my blood pumping, right? So Bleach has always been a great mix. Bleach is like, I should say Xenoblade is like Bleach. And I've been playing a lot of Xenoblade lately, where it is a series that presents ideas, concepts, and things that really fascinate me. I mean, they endlessly fascinate me, while at the same time presenting some of the coolest stuff you'll ever see. And I think that mix is what's allowed Bleach to resonate with so many people for so many years, and will allow it to continue to resonate with people for as long as it is prevalent within our mind's eye. But I thank you once again for this video, and I've been rambling long enough. This is how I know it was a good video. I'm out here rambling like I just finished an anime episode or something. But I appreciate y'all so much. Once again, go check out this video from Soul. I will leave a link to this in the description box down below. And all love to the individuals involved in making this. And I can't wait. I'm even more excited now for Core 4, man. It is going to be goated. So, awesome discussion. So excited for Bleach to come back. And let me know what y'all thought about this theory, either in this comment section, or you could tell Soul yourself within his own comment section for the video as well. I will see y'all. Take care. I can't wait for Bleach to come back now, man.
Bruh. I love that so much. If you guys...
Yeah,
if you guys haven't, make sure to like, comment, subscribe on King Recon's theory of reaction of our theory video. Make sure you check out his other channel. Make sure you check out his channel, because he has a lot of cool stuff that comes out. Just like these One Piece chapters, like his live reactions. I've been tuning in for a while, and they're hilarious. They're great. They just, so go show some love, y'all, please. And as well, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to Phoenix's channel, to my channel as well, because we have a lot more collabs coming up. And this is just the start of it. You know what I mean? So, before we get out of here, Phoenix, anything you would like to say, brother?
Man, you guys pretty much wrapped it up for me. Like everything that I wanted to say. Once again, you guys pretty much said it. I just wanted to extend my thanks though. Um, Thank y'all again for watching this video and also engaging and sharing, commenting, all of that good stuff. It really does mean a lot to us because again, we've made this video to, connect with the community, and that's the best way to do that. And you guys have been really awesome. The support has been extremely, appreciated. I, enjoy the reception from the community, even, with especially with King Recon. Like this has been amazing. And in the time that we've made this video and even come up with it, the results that have come from it so far has been extremely fruitful. So I'm very grateful for it. Um, but yeah, definitely like my good brother Soul here said, like comment and subscribe to his channel, my channel. We have a lot more content coming up. I am a slow baker, so I'm just working through some things, but I do still have a lot of things in the works. So you guys will be seeing that from me on my channel as well. But I love the fact that I get to, share this and be in this as one of the, new upcoming pillars, me, Soul, King Recon, in the Bleach community. This is going to be a wild ride, and I hope y'all strap in.
Exactly. So thank you guys for watching this video. Let us know what you thought in the comments of this reaction and this discussion. And until then,
またな。